The other one that is with IDEC is the one that is an investigating officer on General Khumalo and his team. That's Padayachee. Padayachee is an ex-crime intelligence member with a lot of controversial things within, including the illegal listening of General Cele back in the days when he was still a general in the police, when he was still a national commissioner. Illegal interception of his phone, mispresentation to the judge. But that Padayachee left the police until he retired. And then he resurfaces at IDEC. And his interest or his involvement in this is focused on intelligence. That's why he's a lead investigator on people at intelligence. The court says, if you want something at crime intelligence, go via Padayachee.
Not only is the IDAC guns blazing and is attacking SAPS members, it looks like IPID has joined the chat, because it seems like very soon General MOSIKILE is going to be arrested because her docket has been sent to the DPP, and this is in relation to a 10,000 rands bribe that is in connections with her regarding some stolen goods investigation that she told us about at the Ad Hoc Committee. On the other hand, it's starting to become clear who is actually the person that is behind this whole thing. Do you remember what Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi told us at the Ad Hoc Committee about Brian Padayachee and the dockets that he stole, that he's been busy with from SAPS to IPID to IDAC, because he's specifically used as a pawn to target specific officers? Let me remind you what Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi said in March about Brian Padayachee.
That's why he's a lead investigator on people at intelligence. The court says, if you want something at crime intelligence, go via Padayachee. So he's the only person, but whether he had any beef with anyone, I don't know. But I know that perhaps he still wants the control of the things that he had control over before he retired. And I know of the members of IPID that left IPID and went to IDEC. Whether some of those were in the police before, I do not know. Whether some of those were involved on issues against the police or investigation against the police, that is a fact that they moved with case dockets from IPID to IDEC. And they continued with those investigations at IDEC, which is supposed to be an IPID docket, but it landed at IDEC. So maybe if we do an audit of the dockets at IDEC, and then they must explain to you how those dockets got there, whether did they follow the law, are they part of what the IDEC is established for, you'll be able to get evidence.
So today, guys, I've heard that the National Police Commissioner, Masemola, has been put on suspension, precautionary suspension, and has been replaced by Ms. Puleng Dimpane. And her replacing Mr. Masemola has been received with mixed emotions. Other people have said that this is actually a good choice because it is not someone that is inside Phakathi, the politics of the operations of the SAPS, but others have criticized that very fact that she does not have the prerequisite qualification or experience for the operational side of SAPS. She's only well equipped in finances since she was the CFO of the SAPS. She also testified at the Ad Hoc Committee before the testimony of Nhlanhla regarding the finances of the SAPS and whether there's overspending by the political killings task team.
I've never spoken to the minister about the PKTT budget. All discussions concerning the allocation of funds to the PKTT are solely between myself and the National Commissioner as the accounting officer. The typical process, as I had indicated, is that the project leader would then apply for an extension of funding as well and submit this request. The submission will then go through various levels of approval, eventually ending up with the National Commissioner. I usually have these conversations with the National Commissioner during this process. We regularly discuss matters with all teams, including matters that pertains to intervention task teams as well as the PKTT. These are routine conversations between myself and the National Commissioner. My role then is to confirm whether there is funding. If there is no funding, we then have a conversation with the National Commissioner in terms of determining priorities or reprioritizing to ensure that we support this. These are the conversations that I have only with the National Commission.
And people have seen her as someone that is in the side of people like Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. I don't think that we can know right now. Only time can tell as to whether she's a good replacement or she's a good acting police commissioner. Other people have also said that she has to be blamed for what has happened with the tender, because somewhere, somehow, there's a role that she has played.
Appointment of General Dimpane and the suspension of General Masemola. We note the suspension. We knew that SAPS right now is full of people acting. It almost feels like a movie. I just said this earlier on, where everyone seems to be acting, but no one is actually servicing us. I was listening to your questions to Honorable Ian Cameron, and then I remembered, that this general in particular, she was actually working hand in glove with General Masemola. And I think, if anything, she too should have been in the dock answering questions. It cannot be that, there's actually absolutely nothing on her. She was fully aware of the processes. She was part and parcel of the people who actually awarded these tenders to all of these crooks. So, looking at her background, yes, there's nothing actually to pinpoint her on in terms of she's been embroiled in something that she was found guilty on. But just looking at the entire process, she too had a role to play in where we find ourselves at.
But Ian Cameron came and tried to explain the situation as to how is it that she cannot be blamed for what is happened with this tender, which has put Masemola in trouble. He said, for clarity, at the time, supply chain management reported directly to the National Police Commissioner. The procurement processes, including the bid adjudication committee, was under Lieutenant General Fani, which fell outside her authority. Her role as CFO was to confirm the availability of funds and to exercise financial oversight and compliance. That placed her within the broader financial control environment, but not in the decision-making chain that awarded the contract. When concerns around the contract emerged, the matter was flagged, recorded as potential irregular expenditure, and referred for investigation. That is consistent with what would be expected of a responsible financial manager. SAPS internal audit has also raised concerns which suggest that the key issue was not her involvement in the award, but rather how the system responded once risk had already been identified. So to those who don't know, Masemola is going to be in the dock with other 12 officers because of an issue of the tender that is in relations to Nhlanhla. He's charged in terms of the PFMA for failure to ensure that there is no irregular expenditure when it was flagged that there is actually irregularities with regards to this tender of Nhlanhla. But that's the thing, guys. People have been asking, why are certain police officers being targeted? Why is this narrative being pushed, or what is actually going on with the IDAC? Is it actually attacking Lieutenant Mkhwanazi and the team because they started with Dumisani Khumalo and then they proceeded now with Fani Masemola, and so far they are winning. They're getting these police officers. This is what Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi told us at the Ad Hoc Committee, that this can be a solution with regards to having peace between the IDAC as well as the SAPS and IPID, because it looks like these three institutions are just always in lockerheads. Everybody wants to prove a point to someone else. And this is what he said.
Invite you to take the legislation that established IDEC, that's NPA legislation. Look at what you're intending to achieve with it as government. Look at the legislation that amended the functioning of the SAPS in the establishment of the Hawks, and check what is it that the government intending to achieve with it, and then versus the South African Police Service. These are all three levels now established in the country to investigate cases. And how then you separate as a legislator, how do you separate who must do what in all these three investigating arms of our security cluster now? So if legislature takes that, because there's legislation that governs all this, then you go and look at the SOPs then that are developed amongst these three institutions. One of them is, how does IDAC take cases? Who classify cases between, DPCI, who classify cases of DPCI versus the one that are dealt with in a South African police service separately, a normal detective service within the SAPS. And what type of case then goes to IDEC versus that which is at DPCI. So when you start looking at that and see whether there is no abuse of the system in between, does each one achieve the objective of creating a safer environment in the Republic without being frustrated by the other one? If the case lands on this one's table that belongs into other body, how does this case moves over? Is it the senior body that comes and takes it, or is it the junior body that transfers it to the other structures? So what are the rules that are put out there? So I think we might want to investigate the cross-referencing of these three so that we're able to align it properly in terms of legislation. But in the center of all this, you have one police station that must service all the three. In the center of all this, we have one provincial commissioner that constitutionally is overseeing all these operations in the province. To what extent does this provincial commissioner have a say over what IDEC does, over what DPCI does? So those are the gaps that may need to be looked at so that you're able to close them.
I don't want to lie, guys. I am so shattered because I'm part of the people that really believed in Fani Masemola, even though I've really judged him and criticized him a lot that he was so slow for that position. The president assured us that the appointment of Miss Dimpane is actually a good one, and that they're going to try to expedite the processes, the court process that is also having Fani Masemola in it. And I don't want to lie, he's already on pension, and I think he's run his course. He's done the best he could. But I also think that he should not let this go without a good fight. Magakabakabe. He must just do the last kick to this whole thing and ensure that he cleanses his name before he takes his pension. Because I doubt that this matter might be expedited. If they fail to expedite the Senzo Meyiwa, they fail to expedite other high-profile cases, what makes us think that they'll expedite this particular case that involves the National Police Commissioner? Now I want to talk about MOSIKILE. So it looks like serious charges are about to follow MOSIKILE. And this is what Puleli Tweedy Jones from ENCA reported, because it seems like they have the copy of the charge sheet that has been leaked regarding MOSIKILE.
They're now doing is that they have referred this to the DPP, and we know that the IPID executive, who is of course Ms. Nhlanhla, the acting executive director, issued a letter to the acting police minister Firoz Kachalia on date 2025-09-03 to say that Mr. Kachalia, we are at this point where we're done with this investigations and now we're ready to send to the DPP. I want to believe conversations and discussions were ongoing. That's when only now we have established that about a few weeks ago, 3 to 4 weeks ago, this docket is now at the DPP. We do also understand, Francis, that arrests are imminent looking into this current matter, because from what we're hearing, the consideration is at an advanced stage right now. So anything could happen within the next couple of days.
I think for people just getting into this, to explain the structure, we have a National Police Commissioner and then several Deputy Police Commissioners. So Shadrack Sibiya is one of them. He's already on suspension. We're looking at a possible another suspension here and a legal matter. Can you explain it further? 10,000 Rand and a macro, whose 10,000 Rand was it? What was being bought? And how did it all fall out?
So the allegation is that MOSIKILE attempted to purchase goods illegally at a macro store through unofficial means, right? It further claimed that the individual who promised to facilitate this illegal discounted purchase defrauded her for about 10,000 Rand. She then went to the police station in Littleton police station, opened a case and wanted to lay a complaint against these guys. The docket further goes on to claim that the case against the suspects was withdrawn on the request of a sergeant who submitted a statement to the senior state prosecutor. The request was motivated by the fact that the arrested suspects had allegedly paid back 10,000 Rand to Lieutenant General MOSIKILE. And this is definitely what IPID is saying. In fact, they say that upon consideration of evidence, they advise that the conduct of MOSIKILE gave rise to a prima facie case of perjury, meaning she lied about this as well.
Yeah.
So it is quite serious.
Okay, so we don't know what the purchase was, but it was dodgy.
It was good.
And
the way it was done as well, yes.
Yeah.
And what's quite interesting is that she was questioned about this at the Ad Hoc Committee, and she denied the allegations, saying that it's unfounded, it's not true, and that she'll welcome the investigations, basically. So she's not deterred by this. She wanted the investigations to be finalized because she believes she's got a strong case and that she's done nothing wrong. So I'd go back to your structure. You now have Fani Masemola, who's on precautionary suspension, right? You have the National Deputy Commissioner for Crime Detection, who's on suspension. You now have MOSIKILE, who's facing such serious allegations as well, and now we're waiting to see what the DPP will say. And then you had also at some point acting National Deputy Commissioner for Crime Detection, Hilderson Tumule, who was alleged to have received medical upgrades from Vusi Musikat Nhlanhla, which she denied, right, at the Nhlanhla Commission and at the Ad Hoc Committee. So the rot is quite glaring within the SAPS, and these allegations again speak to whether South Africans should continue to believe that there will be a turnaround in the SAPS. For our own sake, we're hoping it'll cleanse itself to protect the millions of South Africans who are facing this rampant crime in this country every day.
Yeah, it's almost a case of who will be left standing after all of this, given the mounting claims against top brass officials.
I'm telling you guys, I don't know if this is a cleanup or it's a target of certain officials, but it does not look good. Because if this was fair, guys, don't you think that by now we'd have seen a lot of action when it comes to a lot of police officers, including, even Miss Andrea Johnson? She was in the panel when her husband was appointed in a position. She did not disclose all of that information. She is supposed to be charged. Actually, she's supposed to be put on suspension, because I even saw one of the activists, crime activists, which is a Bramji, has suggested and has made a call for Dimpane to actually go and suspend Khumalo because of what happened. They're saying what you do in the left, you do on the right. If they could suspend Fani Masemola for his involvement in that irregular awarding of that tender, then they want the same thing to happen with Khumalo, that he had some involvement with some tenders. He as well has to actually be held accountable because of that corrupt allegations of him employing his niece or whatever the case may be. All I can say is that this is a clear target and a clear attack. Because why is that not done with other officials, including Andrea Johnson? Why? Why is it only done in one side or with one side? And the target is only those people. And the only person right now that is remaining is Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. And as he also said, even when he sent that text to Nkosi, that Tupac song, he's definitely the last man standing, because I don't know what they're going to try to have on him. And already Adams is trying by lobbying people like Mlotshwa to open a case of torture against Lieutenant Mkhwanazi. The question remains, will it work? Will he actually get persecuted? Will he actually get to be arrested or be suspended? Will the IDAC actually win, get their ultimate 100% win against these three officials that are trying to fight crime? I don't know what you guys think. And do you think that Padayachee is actually at the center of this whole thing? Because Padayachee has been named many times as part of the people that have been targeting specific police officers and has left with police dockets to crime intelligence, to IDAC, so that they can continue investigating certain people and targeting them. Andrea Johnson came and defended Brian Padayachee, saying that these allegations that is used as a pawn are not true.
During the course of these proceedings, we've been putting forward an assertion to witnesses that we think the reason we are sitting here night on end is because of deep divisions within the top brass of the SAPS leadership. I want to say that right now I think that these divisions cut across the criminal justice system, and I just want to hear your view on this theory that I have. So we've been asking about Mr. Brian Padayachee. Because Mr. Padayachee, it seems, he was used to effect this very speedy investigation and what I think was a frivolous arrest of Lieutenant General Khumalo. Tell me, so you testified that by the time you took the helm, were you at ID before you became the head of the ID when Advocate Cronier was the leader?
No.
Okay, but you are obviously a successor in law in terms of head of IDAC, right?
Yes.
Okay, so he's retired at SAPS, and in your document you go to a lot of detail around his skills and expertise. Are those unique?
So those are the skills and expertise one requires of investigators. So be they DPCI or IDEC, we need investigative experience, and you need knowledge and understanding of the law enforcement environment. So that is what he had when he did come to IDEC back at the time, and they did serve us well in terms of investigations. And if you'd allow me, Honorable Sangoni, just for clarity, he didn't conduct the investigations in any of these matters by himself. There's a team of investigators and prosecutors, and everybody does different things. Different people take statements, some issue Section 28 subpoenas, etc. In terms of the conducting of the investigation, there is a team that conducts an investigation and more than one prosecutor that assesses the matter. However, when we effect arrests, and this is a general law enforcement thing, you will find that when an arrest is to be effected, search and seizure warrants are to be applied for, cyber warrants, bail affidavits. They choose within the team who must depose to that affidavit. And for those reasons, he is at the fore, but he is part of a team. I only just wanted to clarify. I'm not trying to justify anything. I'm not sure what might have gone wrong, because I'm not aware of anything having gone wrong. But when the allegations are made, Honorable Chair and members, that Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi cannot understand what Padayachee is doing at IDAC. I found Mr. Padayachee at the ID. He had come to the ID and had been sought after by my predecessor, Advocate Hermione Cronier, and he remained then at IDAC. He did undergo a detective course. He has conducted several investigations in his time in the South African Police Services. He wasn't only at crime intelligence. We do refer, Honorable Chair and members, from paragraphs 62.1 up to paragraph 62.3 of specific matters that Mr. Padayachee dealt with as an investigator within the South African Police Services in his time at the South African Police Services. So the assertion that he's got no investigating experience and no one knows what he's doing there is incorrect. He has the requisite qualifications, he's had the requisite experience, and he was at IDEC from sometime in 2021, me having taken office in March of 2022, and has conducted investigations as part of different teams that were doing investigations in IDEC.
They are lying on him. Obviously, I wouldn't have expected her to actually agree that this is actually a rogue unit in the IDAC, and these people are specifically targeting certain police officers in SAPS. I don't know what you guys think. Please comment your thoughts. Otherwise, guys, I'll see you on my next upload. Bye.